Welcome back to another Trade Alts technical analysis. And in this video, I'm going to be going over current Bitcoin price action, what I think is kind of likely to happen this weekend. It's been a pretty crazy week here in crypto land. And I'm also going to go over some altcoins that you see on your screen. We have BNB, Solana, and as requested by somebody in Discord, I'm going to be going over Alpha Finance. So hope you enjoy the video. Let's get to the charts. All right, so here we are on the hourly Bitcoin chart, and you can see it's been kind of a brutal week. I mean, we started the week above 57,000, and really since then we've had a 24.5% drop, which again it's not out of the ordinary as far as Bitcoin goes, but it is it's a little concerning. Our previous drop wasn't that long ago, and we had I think it was a 30% drop, but again, as far as these bull cycles go, it's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm not overly concerned about Bitcoin and where it's at, but as far as traditional markets go, that's there's kind of a lot going on there. And I think, that's going to be one thing to pay very close attention to coming into next week to kind of see how we open. And, because it had a pretty big impact on Bitcoin and crypto in general. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So that's definitely, as far as it's kind of nice for Bitcoin being that the markets are closed. It's Friday, markets are closed until Monday. So that really gives crypto a chance to breathe. And, thinking that I'm kind of looking for some upside, to be honest, over the weekend. I'd like kind of a relief rally to take place. But again, we had a 24.5% drop so far. If you look at kind of what we're doing locally, it's really just, we're just range bound for the most part. We're really, we came back down. So starting up here, weekly open, cascaded all the way down here to your 618. So your local 618, which comes back all the way from here around 37. It starts around 37,400 or so. And when we impulsed and started grinding up all the way up there to 58,000. But yeah, we came down to your golden pocket, which is your 618 here, and your 6.6. So right in this region, got a nice bounce out of here, came back down to retest these prior lows and pushed off again. And I was talking about this in the Discord. I think it was right, I'd have to go, I think it was somewhere around here, but I actually have this in Discord. And I had said, I think we're coming to take this liquidity. The more, you can see where we were sitting here, which is right above the bigger range value area low. And just how weak price looked here, I had drawn this green box, and I had mentioned that I really do think that we're coming to take these, to take the liquidity that's below here. And I was saying if this fails, as in if we don't just get a quick spike down, and we actually start closing, if we start actually closing some candles below that. 42K, 42,000 area is where I would have been looking. But, again, we did tag the big range value area low. This is usually a pretty good area to look for a position. But considering how we got there, it looked pretty evident to me that we were going to come take this liquidity that's here. But that's, so that's kind of what I had mentioned right here. I do think we take that green zone. So I was kind of warning the Discord there. And sure enough, we actually came down. We took these stops. We took the liquidity here and pushed right back up. And, off of this move, you got almost a 10% move. That's a really nice trade right there. And I happened to take that trade, so I was pretty happy about that. It actually filled overnight for me. But as you can see, kind of what we're doing now, we're just going sideways. We're kind of range bound here between these lows, this daily around 45,000. And 48,000 has been major resistance so far. You can see the last several hours here. You see the tops of these wicks are just wicking right up to this daily SR level here, just below 48,000. But this is a huge resistance locally. Obviously, if for price to continue higher, which I do think Bitcoin has a chance again to kind of get that relief rally. And I do think that Bitcoin eventually pushes up. I'd like to see it clear up this naked point of control here around 50,000. But for that to happen, we're going to need to reclaim this 48,000 level. You know, I think you get an hourly close above this 48,000 level, and I'd look probably to 50,000 area. If I were to pull a fib, just to kind of see if anything lines up. So your 618, your golden pocket region would be something like that. See if there's any pivots that might line up in this area. It's monthly. Actually, you don't want to do that. We're going to be getting new monthly here pretty soon. We have a weekly pivot. Your S1 weekly pivot lines right up with your golden pocket. So that's interesting. So this will probably be, you know, around, what is it, 49,000, 49,100 to 49,450, something like that. I would expect a reaction around here if we are able to reclaim this daily. But ultimately, I do think that we head up, you know, it would be nice to clear up this naked point of control. And, you know, I think that Bitcoin does have a shot to kind of get that bounce that we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. But if this is kind of the more important piece that I would talk about right now, is this daily level here around 45,000. If this is lost again, that'd be pretty, not so sure about that. I think if this was lost, like I have this green, you know, this is what I talked about, 42,000, or when I had mentioned that in Discord, the 42,000 area, that's your previous all-time high. So if you go back, you kind of go back here. So this was our previous 42,000 all-time high that we hit at the beginning of the year before we pulled all the way back to 30,000 and had that was a 30% retracement right there. We haven't actually really come back to retest this, which is okay. Like, it's not, you don't have to do it, but you know, on first pass, I think if we do lose this current daily SR level right here around just below 45,000, I think 42,000 is pretty likely, which is again right here, it's your previous all-time high. That would definitely be, and you know, I have it marked off as a key level, it'd be an area of interest for me, but it also lines up with the 786 fib. And you can see, you know, as price has come down from its high, price has come down from your 58,000 high, your 0.5 fib, you got a nice, really long wick bounce pretty much right off of it. And then you've had your golden pocket respected pretty nicely, got a really nice bounce off of that. So, you know, what I expect the 786 region, 886 region to be respected, very likely. Like, I think that's what kind of how I have this green box drawn down here. And you also have your S2 weekly pivot sitting right in the middle of that zone, which is nice. I mean, you really, like, the way that I kind of see this area, if we do happen to come down here, I don't think it happens this weekend, to be honest. You know, if anything, I'm kind of leaning more to the upside for this weekend. But coming into Monday, if it's really rough traditional markets and we don't have a very good open, you know, we lose 45,000. This is kind of, you should have quite a bit of support down here. You know, it's really, I would say, I mean, this is kind of a big zone, but really, this 37 to 42 region, this should be pretty decent support. Like, I would feel pretty comfortable. I mean, this isn't financial advice, but for myself, like, I would be very interested in taking a swing position off of here. And you know, kind of if you zoom out here, which you also have, I'm not like a major fan of trend lines, but you do have this trend line coming back in from the beginning, you know, middle of December. And, you know, it's been tested here. You can see how I drew it, kind of why I drew it this way. But you got this wick here, the candle body's close above, you know, right on or above this line. So it's, you know, this has held up pretty decently. And it does kind of, you know, looks like if we do head down here, it, you know, there's a chance that it could be retested again. And, but I would expect for this area to be pretty solid. And, you know, the thing is, if we lost this weekly here at 38,000, if we lose 38,000, you know, I think like the next area would be probably 35,000. I have some other stuff lined up, but I already kind of have a lot of levels shown, so I don't want to make the chart even more messy or messier than it already is. But I have a level here at about 35,000 that I think would be possible. But really, you're probably looking, you know, 32,000 again. And at that point, things would kind of start to look pretty ugly, to be honest. Like, I really don't want to see this area lost. You know, sitting around 37, 38,000. That's kind of, I really would not like to see Bitcoin drop below that, but we'll have to see if and when it does happen. But again, for this weekend, I'm looking at, you know, I do think we have a bounce. I think we get a little bit of a relief bounce considering how this went. I wouldn't be surprised to take another, you know, another push up here, and then we'll reevaluate kind of how things, you know, what things look like on Sunday. When futures open and whatnot. So that's kind of Bitcoin in a nutshell. I mean, these are your levels. 45K to the downside. I think this is really crucial support. If this is lost, then I would look down to around 42,000 is your next area of support. And then 48,000, big resistance right now. Again, going back to the hourly, you can see literally these candles. Like, it's just perfect, picture perfect resistance level. If this is reclaimed, then I look to around 50,000, and you know, as your kind of your next level. So this is the pitchfork. So that Bitcoin video that I did a few days, I think it was a few days back, but it was kind of focused on higher time frame analysis. And you know, you can see here, this is actually your 618 of the pitchfork, and you know, it's so far it's support, got a wick through it, but nothing closed below it so far. If you start to lose this again as support, then your next level would be the 0.5 fib, which is sitting, you know, again around 41,000 or so, and rising over time. And then below that, you do have your 382 sitting at, you know, that's right around that 37,000 mark. So that would be, you know, you would have this as potential confluence for a support region if if price did manage to drop that far down. But this is the pitchfork. Again, this is if you zoom out. I covered this in my high time frame analysis, but it's done a pretty good job. You know, again, just real briefly, you came up here, which is the middle of the pitchfork. You had a nice resistance, which is your $20,000 previous all-time high. Price broke through it, went all the way up to your golden pocket here, to your 618 and your 66, and rejected. This was your $42,000 high. You got your 30% pullback before price eventually reached up here, and now your golden pocket is acting as support. So moving on to Solana. So this is one that I covered in my previous video, and I had mentioned, like, this is one of those setups for Ichimoku that I really like, and it's the 12-hour. So you have your 12-hour Ichimoku here, and looking right here, you got your perfect Kijun test. Really huge bounce off of that. Obviously, that was a phenomenal buy if you managed to buy that. And then you got another perfect bounce right here off of your Kijun again. And I did this. I'll do the measurement again so you can see it. But right off of your Kijun retest here, up to your high is 100% move, and that's in a matter of 2 days. So that was a very nice move. And then obviously, like, we've had some weakness over the past couple of days. Bitcoin's been pretty weak, which has really brought alts down considerably. And here we are again. So you can see that your blue Tenkan here has been great support. It's been really good support this entire run up, aside from this Kijun retest here when you got your wick down. But it's been really good support. You're kind of hovering right around it. So this, you know, as far as risk reward, I mean, there's kind of a difference. It really depends how conservative or aggressive you would like to be. But this isn't a terrible area. Okay, not financial advice. This isn't a terrible area to take a stab. Just because, again, the Tenkan has been really good support this entire run up. Now, obviously, like, Bitcoin is kind of teetering on the edge of, like, you know, it's kind of at this really critical juncture where it can pop. You know, we're right at that 48,000 resistance. If we reclaim that, you know, I think you can get, you know, maybe a couple $1,000 move up from there, which would really help altcoins, especially the alts that are paired up against USD or USDT like this one is. But if you lose, you know, that $45,000 support on Bitcoin, then this doesn't actually seem like it would be a very good trade. to be honest, because I would expect it, along with other altcoins, to probably take a hit. So, you know, as far as like, I wouldn't really want to see this Tenkan loss. You have your R1, is this weekly? Yeah, it's your R1 weekly pivot line up really nicely with your Tenkan. So this is another confluence for support. And I can take a look and see what the retracement is. Here you have your 618 sitting just below it. So, I mean, you have some support below this. Your 786 lines up really nicely with your Kijun here. So this is kind of your next level support if this was to fail, you know. But as far as taking a position off of here, I mean, you could even ladder an entry. So maybe you take your first entry here and you ladder your entries down to your Kijun. Or if you're like kind of more conservative, you could just try to bid the Kijun and hope that it drops there and, you know, gets another wick down or whatnot. As the, you know, your invalidation would be pretty easy. You start closing below your Kijun, then you know it's likely things are pretty weak. But overall, Solana looks really good. Again, I think that, you know, this is obviously due to Bitcoin being really weak lately, but it's in an area of interest. If you look historically here, I mean, this isn't like a ton of price action or anything like that, but if you look back here, it looks pretty good. Like as far as taking an entry, taking a trade off of this, it's not a terrible area to do so, especially if you get this, if you're able to get this Kijun retest. So that's kind of it. Solana looks good. Just wanted to update, you know, because I think my last update price was $16 or $17. So I'm just updating here that, you know, you're really close to your Tenkan. Looks like it's going to start angling up. Looks pretty good to me, but do your own research, obviously. So Alpha, this is one that somebody brought up in Discord, wanted me to take a look at. And, you know, basically you can see you've come down to your golden pocket. This is your support right on your 618. Your candle close is sitting right literally on the 618. And locally, you have your daily levels. That's kind of your next support and resistance. You know, if this level fails, though, I think if I got a daily close below 107, whatever this is, it would start to look pretty bad, to be honest. Like you know, it's already, you know, if I turn on Ichimoku, you can see here, like you're coming right up against the edge of the cloud, and like this is a very new altcoin. So there's not a lot of price history. You can't even populate this like Ichimoku properly, but you are kind of coming up against a little bit of support here. You're sitting on your 618. That's been support, this region. You have your daily level that's sitting just below it. Like if this area fails though, especially if price crosses through here and ends up being below your cloud, things are not going to start, you know, they're not going to look very good, to be honest, especially if this blue Tenkan bearishly crosses this yellow Kijun here. If you can see the forecaster looks like it's going to cross, but you know, this is kind of one of those areas where if it's going to bounce, it's going to bounce now, or it's going to bounce really soon. Like it needs to kind of pop up, you know, especially above 150. What is this daily? 152. It really needs to start to push and reclaim this, which if you look at the cloud, it looks, you know, it could be, you know, if you start to see it bouncing off of the Kumo here, like you could see it kind of try to get its way, you know, try to move out of here. But this is kind of a tough one, to be honest. And it's been, you know, sitting on support, but if you lose this daily, not very good. And, you know, especially depending on how Bitcoin, you know, obviously a lot of this is tied to Bitcoin, but if you lose this daily level, I think you're really going probably down to this 76 cent range, something like that. You have your 786 right by your daily level, kind of right around this region. Like that would be another area of support that I would look at, but that's quite a ways down from here. I think it's almost another 50% from where this is. But this looks a little rough, to be honest. It really needs to start pushing now to kind of avoid this potential setup that's looming that could be very bearish for it. But I I definitely like would not short here though. This is a horrible short, just because you're literally sitting on pretty major support right now. So I would not even consider taking any kind of trade like that, unless you, again, if you start losing this daily level, it would start to look pretty rough. And you know how some altcoins are, they can, when they retrace, some of them like to retrace pretty heavily, but I wouldn't really bank on that happening, to be honest. But this is kind of, you know, this is one of those that's level by level. And again, to the upside, if you're able to reclaim this 152, especially get above Kijun here and start working your way up, it would start to look pretty good. It would start to look really good, actually. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens. As far as I see right here, if you put a gun in my head and said long or short, I would rather probably take a long trade, to be honest, just because you're literally sitting on support and your invalidation's relatively close to you. But this is probably one that I would stay away from for myself personally. So that's alpha. Now here's BNB. Oh wow, look at that. So this is BNB versus Bitcoin. And this is one that I actually really curious. I have a decent amount of BNB, so this is one that I want to make sure that I pay attention to. But I was really looking at this. So you can see we are literally right up against this trend line. And you know, BNB had that massive run up in dollar terms. I think it hit $350 if I remember. But it had an incredible run up, just a straight run up. What a move. And you know, obviously we're kind of consolidating. We kind of have this triangle type, you know, I wouldn't say it's like necessarily a descending triangle. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but the reaction here is really what I want to see. Like, is this resistance and we fall back down, or do we break out of here and maybe retest? Like, because that could be a really nice potential trade. And for me, it's not necessarily the triangle that you can kind of see here. It's more the levels. So like this weekly level is very important support. This monthly level is really important support. Obviously, you can see that's kind of what has held up price. And then you have this, which is your 618. And I will draw this out for you just so you can see where I got it from. But it's literally the bottom of this impulse all the way up to the top. And you can see that's right about where your golden pocket is. I'm not sure why it's slightly off. But anyway, I mean, this, you can see I didn't actually come down and perfectly test it, but this is close enough for me. And you've been getting really nice reactions off of here. But obviously, the more times you test something, the weaker it becomes typically. But the fact that this lines up really nicely with this weekly SR level here, that's pretty major support. If this is lost, though, it could get ugly real quick. Like this 786, which is, you know, it's a support region, but I wouldn't say it's very strong. I'd probably look for it to come all the way back down to you see how your 886 right here. So here's your 886 fib lined up perfectly with your weekly. That's the kind of stuff that I like to see, by the way. Like, I really like to see the confluences line up. So when you have Fibonacci line up with a certain level, that's really what I like to see. But you know, we're far away from that, so that's not really something I'm obviously considering right now. But this is kind of your last line of defense. If this level is lost, which again is your golden pocket and your weekly support here, if this is lost, likely coming all the way back down. Wouldn't you be surprised you did a full retrace, especially if Bitcoin looks bad? I think it could really hurt alts across the board. But as of right now, BNB actually looks pretty interesting. So right off the bat, I'm gonna get rid of this just so you guys less stuff. But right off the bat, I see something that I want to take a look at. So this is your fixed range of this entire piece of price action right here. So this is your point of control. And right now you can see price is under your point of control, and it's been really good resistance. So you can kind of see here, right, when price broke above, tested this, well, I mean, that was kind of your second point of the trend line, right? So that's kind of what would give me the idea. That's what gave me the idea to draw this trend line. And I'm not like majorly in the trend lines or anything, but if I do see one like that, I like to put it up there. But you can see after it touched this trend line, pop down, and your point of control, really pretty good support area. I mean, it's not perfect, but you can see candle close wise on the hourly, pretty good, especially you get into this area, literally holding it in BNB up. Now you lost the point of control, back tested it as resistance, 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 and now so you're kind of trying to push up, right? You're trying to break out of this trend, and you're trying to come up here. This is their key level as far as I'm concerned. So this is around, what is that, 50,000 sats, something like 49,661 sats, something like that. But anyway, if you're able to reclaim this line, which I would just draw, I'll just put it on here. That was a little easier to see. So there's your point of control. Value area high, sitting right about here, which you can see, pretty nice. And then your value area low, which is going to be right pretty close to this weekly. So now I can delete this. But so your value area low and this weekly support right here, like this is a really important level. So this is kind of your local support. Your immediate resistance is this point of control. If price is able to reclaim this point of control, then I would look all the way up to this value area high here. And obviously, if you're able to reclaim this value area high, it would start to look really, really good though, because obviously you have kind of this downtrend that was starting. And, you know, if price is able to break out of here, reclaim your point of control, again, back up to your value area high, if you were to reclaim that, I think there's a chance that BNB could really just continue to new all-time highs. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. That looks like this looks pretty good. So, but it's, you know, your point of control is kind of the next level that you need to deal with. And if it's able to reclaim that, you can continue, you know, you can look for continuation higher. But as long as you're below this point of control, you know, this is your support. You lose the support, then you move down to the next level. You lose this support, you move down to this level. If you lose this, I think it's probably game over, to be honest. I think if you lose this level, it will look really bad. And you're going to start heading down to this region, and really you're going to start looking at, you know, full retrace of this move. And unfortunately, again, when you look with a lot of altcoins, you know, especially paired up against Bitcoin, you see full retraces happen quite often. Like they're not something that's, you know, crazy or something out of the ordinary. They definitely happen. So that's BNB though, and this is versus Bitcoin. So far it looks pretty good. Really, just you have this sideways range that's been forming ever since, you know, it's literally for the last week, and it's kind of time to figure out what you're going to do. So this is actually really critical time to see, like, I would like, if BNB is going to push here, I would like to see it happen like within the next few hours, to be honest. But that's your levels for BNB. So anyway, went over Bitcoin, talked about what I thought this weekend. Again, I would like to see some you know, continuation to the upside. I like to see a little bit of a relief bounce. In turn, that should help alts out quite a bit. But traditional markets, it's been a rough week, and that's hurt Bitcoin, and which in turn has hurt a lot of the alts. A lot of the alts are down pretty big. But I think this weekend it'd be a good, you know, likely probably not a lot happening. If anything, again, I lean more to the upside than I would to the downside. I guess I can go back to this chart real quick. And you can see we're still just, you know, there's not a lot happening right now. It's pretty quiet. Needs to reclaim 48,000 to your move up to about 50,000. If you lose this 45,000 region, I think, you know, 42,000 is next. So that's kind of what I would be looking for Bitcoin. But overall, that's basically it. Again, in Discord here. So we have a Discord, a lot of really cool people. We spent basically all day kind of pushing around technical analysis. We joke around, you know, it's actually a really good time. But if you're interested, there's a link in the description below. You can come join us. We're really laid back, relaxed. It's a really fun place to be. And if you wouldn't mind liking the video, it would really help, because this is a brand new channel. And I'm obviously trying to grow it, so I would really appreciate that. Then if you subscribe and tick the bell to be notified of any of my future videos that are going to be coming out. I have a lot of tutorials and stuff, trading tutorials, that I've been working on that I will share once I'm done with those. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. You have a great night. Trade safe.